Welcome to another healing conversation brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I am here with Tamra Oviatt.
Good morning.
Good morning. We are going to talk about sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is known by many of the metaphysical scientists and the quantum physicists as being the connectors to our higher self. As energy follows patterns, they set up geometric forms. And Tamra has sacred activations that will connect you from this third dimension into higher dimensions.
Up to the 12th dimension.
Up to the 12th dimension.
Yes.
We're going to talk some heavy-duty sacred geometry today. First, before we get into the activations, how did this come to you?
God made me do it. This whole journey for me has been about doing what I'm told to do by spirit. And I didn't know a lot about sacred geometry. I still don't scientifically. I can't really explain it too well to you. But through all the trainings and modalities I've learned through the years, through all of them, I was always told this is for your training. It's not what you're going to be doing. And I was quite frustrated. And in March 2012, I went over to Europe. And I went there for this gentleman, and after 2 weeks in, I went, all right, God, this isn't why I'm here. Why do you have me here? And I was really frustrated. You know, I was kind of yelling. Why am I here? What do you want me here for? And I went and I sat on this bench, and I asked that question, and I was told to go to the Roslyn Chapel. And when I went back to this gentleman's house, his friend is an amazing spiritual researcher and writer and everything else. And he sent me to the spiritual libraries to read about the Sundastyle, which is located under the Roslyn Chapel. So I read about how it activates your 12 strands of DNA. So I went, okay, cool. So I booked a bed and breakfast for the next day and a train ticket, and I took off. And then that following day, I met one of my clients that lives in Scotland. I'd never met her in person before, but Spirit told me to call her and have her meet me at the church. And when I went to the church and sat down in the pews, I went up to the seventh plane energy of the creator of all that is, and I said, okay, I'm ready. And I was told to go to the sixth plane, which is known as like the laws and the Cosmic records. And I went in there, and I was met by Lord Metatron, and I didn't know who he was at the time. And I said, who are you and what are you doing here? And he says, I'm Lord Metatron, and I'm here to assist you with this. So I said, okay, cool. And he kissed me on the forehead. And then we just started receiving this energy, and I saw it coming in as codes, and then it was followed up by these golden seals disc that came into our energy field, and we were kind of dizzy and our heads hurt when we were done. And when we left, I was told that I was now crystalline, and I was to give these activations to others.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, for those of you who know the book, The Da Vinci Code,
Right.
that was in this book. But here you are, that just came to you. Did it come to you from meditation? Or you've learned to listen to that inner voice?
I listen to that inner voice all the time. I'm not really good at meditation unless I'm hiking. I'm not quite a meditation person.
Oh, good. So some of us don't have to feel so guilty.
No.
So you're able to connect.
Yeah, I'm always connected.
And so for those who are learning to connect in more with their inner voice, share a little bit about the distinction, the discernment between ego and God.
The inner voice is quiet. It's not going to put you down. It's not going to throw you in fear, although it will give you warnings, very stern warnings. The scar on my lip, when I was 18, I was told do not get on the motorcycle, and I was going to go on this picnic with this guy. And I heard it like probably 20 times, do not get on the bike, do not get on the bike. So I kind of argued with him about it, and he won. I got on the bike and got in this horrible motorcycle accident. If I wasn't wearing a helmet, I would be dead. And that really taught me to start listening to that voice. You know, that's when I really started paying attention to it. But the ego will tell you you're stupid or all these different things and put you in this fear where your spiritual side was more calm and loving and kind to you. So it does take a little bit of practice to really get to know that voice. But the sacred activations actually really open you up so that you can listen much easier.
Great. So let's talk more about that. The sacred activations, they were given to you by Lord Metatron, or
Yes.
by Lord Metatron, and you didn't know him before he came to you.
I had no idea who he was. I'd never even heard his name before.
That's fascinating.
At first, I was calling him Lord Antoine, and every time I would say Lord Antoine, I'd hear, no, that's not it. And then I finally got it was Metatron.
Wow.
And this last summer, reading the book of knowledge, the book of Enoch, I really realized who he really is. I mean, I kind of started getting to know who he was, but when I read it this summer, I was like, wow. I mean, I did not know. I'm not a researcher. I'm a single mom, raising children, living my life, and just doing what I'm told to do by Spirit.
Well, honorable, really. That's very fascinating that you're being told to do it and you do it and you step up.
Yeah.
You know, the Keys of Enoch, the book of knowledge by J.J. Hurtak,
Right.
I'm reading that as well too.
Yeah.
And it does, for anyone listening, that book ties it all in. If you're looking for a scientific
Right.
way that they explain the stepping down of the dimensions. So let's talk more about the dimensions then. Your activations, can you explain more of what's going on?
At first, I didn't really realize what the activations do. I mean, I knew they activated your 12 strands of DNA, and I was at a friend's house in London, and I was teaching him a DNA 3 class because I'm a Theta Healer trainer also. And when I was looking, I was talking about lining up his molecules, and then he handed me a sacred geometry book, and I opened it up and I saw the Tree of Life. I went, oh my God, I've been doing this to clients for years. What is this? You know, and then I got fascinated about sacred geometry because I'd been working with it and helping people with it, but not really knowing nothing about it except just witnessing and doing the work. The sacred activations activate all your sacred geometry symbols, and we work on the collective consciousness. So Creator was really showing me this last summer, where like if you're to look at the group consciousness of fear and suffering, it's like the size of this. And if you're to look at the group consciousness of love, abundance, and peace, it's the size of this. You know, so what we're doing, and I've been told I now have permission to work in that collective consciousness to clear out that fear and that suffering, and to plug people into the unconditional love, which is a 5th dimensional grid system that's now available around the world. And so we're plugging people into that Christ consciousness of unconditional love, peace, and abundance. It's all 3 is necessary to stop that suffering and that fear, to really connect into that. So with the sacred activations, my understanding from Spirit is every time I activate somebody, another 1,000 people around the world are being activated. So it's like the monkey syndrome. So we're really changing the planet into this unconditional love.
And the activating, you said it helps every single molecule or chakra in their body.
Absolutely.
And it follows the Tree of Life.
Yes.
The Tree of Life, if those out there need an explanation for it, is ancient. It's actually multidimensional, would you say?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And so here on the 3rd dimension, we are cut off from the higher dimensions. So
Right.
really, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm connecting people, well, Spirit's connecting people in where we can live in all the dimensions at once. And I'm really living in the 5th dimension now, much more than I ever was. I kind of go in between the 3rd and the 5th, but my spirit is very easily connected to the 5th dimension most of the time. And some of these later activations, I've actually gone through stargates and have gone up through the 12th dimension. They've called me, come on, Tamra, come up with us. So it's been very interesting. And amazing.
So it's not through meditation. So
No.
when do you see this and experience this? When you go to sleep, at night, just maybe when you're hopefully not driving a car.
Oh.
But do you know what I mean? It's like, how does it happen when you're activating the groups?
Oh yeah, when I'm activating people, they totally come to me. Like there's this activation called Galactic Federation activation. And when I first did it, they brought me up over the planet and they were showing me the grid system that was being put in place and stuff, and I'm like, why can't we just do this? Just light it up, you know, because I'm one of those people, I want it now, and I want it instantly. And they're all, no, because this is your experience, and that we have to light it up. And then a couple weeks ago, I was working on this client, and I was doing a Galactic Federation activation. They're all, Tamra, you haven't been up here in forever, consciously. Come up. So I'm like, okay. So I went up, and they're showing me the grid system. And it was just beautiful. It was like, wow, this is so gorgeous. And then I was seeing some dark spots in the grid system. And like one of them, I said, what is that? And they showed me it was Africa. And then there were some other dark sections around the world. And what they told me with the work I'm doing is we're sitting in that unconditional love and unplugging these people from the fear and the suffering, which is lighting up that grid system. So that's what we're doing.
And we are lighting it up.
Yes.
With our love.
Our love, absolutely.
And so now you said in your consciousness, so now we are moving our consciousness. Do you feel yourself having an out-of-body experience, or is it just your consciousness is expanding to see that grid? I mean, I'm always connected to that. I could take off and go and still be in my body and be present. I could be in a couple different places at once and still be present. So I'm not sure if that's how you wanted me to answer that question, but... Well, that's really cool. I know people want to be many places at once.
Yeah.
So in a 3D level, how does it feel to be here when you look around at some of the global problems? Are you able to just not look at the problems because you know what's coming?
You know what's really funny about that is I was so locked into the conspiracy theories and everything that was going on, and I had so much anger in me about them. And I used to be on Facebook a lot, and I was always posting all the stuff that they're doing and having to warn people. But after the activations, the God codes and Creator's Truth and the Heaven on Earth, I was released from all of that. I don't even pay attention to them anymore. I don't get angry about them anymore. I just know it's all false. It's all an illusion. And it's really to help people wake up. And I don't feel like it's my job to show them this illusion anymore, because it's just an illusion. And so thank God for that, because I was one angry person with all of that, you know. I mean, I could have been one of those psychos that shot somebody even though I don't like guts. Because the feeling, the rage I would feel inside of me, and it's completely gone. I'm so thankful.
Yes, because you know that this is really the self-mastery that we are aiming for.
Exactly.
So you're doing that, and you're a walking example of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have amazing testimonials with the sacred activations, but my own experience and the experience with my family hits me the hardest. Because when you hear someone healing from cancer or stroke, I mean, that's amazing to read this and to know that you've really affected somebody's life that way.
And you've heard these stories.
Oh, many.
Miracles. And and so let's talk just a moment. You were mentioning your family and other people. Is that what a spontaneous healing is then? This connection with spirituality, it cannot be separated.
Right. And when you know you're just light and molecules and energy, it's much easier for your body to heal, because it is just light. And it's just our belief systems and our illusion that makes sickness. I mean, because that's all it is. It's just belief systems. That's it. You change the belief system and the body heals and becomes what it's supposed to be.
Belief systems, we hear a ton about that, and that's really what our work is these days, is to clear those out.
Well, what's wonderful about the sacred activations is when you receive an activation, it clears out hundreds to thousands of belief systems with that one activation. No belief needed, no belief work needed. It's just, it disappears. It's just gone. You look back in a couple of weeks, and that horrible belief system you had, or that anger, or that resentment, is just completely, it's melted away. And it just blows me away. I'm still in awe of what these activations do with people, and again with what I've seen in my own family. It just shocks me. And I'm just thankful.
Yes.
So thankful.
Well, you are here in Boulder, Colorado, and you're having a seminar here, and you have a lot of activations. Christ consciousness, Mother Mary, light language activation. Can you go over a couple of these? And you don't have to do them, but what is it about some of these activations, especially like a light language activation?
That's such an amazing activation. Well, they all are. But for me, I used to, when somebody would get angry at me, I would either get angry back or I would back down, right? And I received this activation, and I flew over to Italy with this lady that was supposed to be really spiritual and stuff, you know? And then she started telling me that I can't speak to God, that I must be crazy, my head would explode. And she starts going off on me. I mean, she like switched. It was like, wow. So I could sit there and listen to her and smile at her and not get caught up in her energy. And I could stay in my power and speak my truth. And I was never able to do that before. I was like, wow. I was so impressed. I mean, each one of these activations, with the way it's changed my life and what I see with others, just so impressed me. You know, it's amazing. So that's the original light language, is really to be able to stay in your power. The Christ consciousness activation, I received that one when I was in Spain. And we shot this video because I used to have this business money energy workshops. In the video, it was like an hour after I did this activation, you could see the light shooting off my hands and my nose and everything.
Wow.
It was really cool, but what happened with that was the release of self-judgment. I had the most negative self-talk about myself all the time. And I'm not saying it's 100% gone, but it's definitely 90% better than it ever was. And then my judgment towards other people has really switched, and that unconditional love was so much better within me after that activation.
Okay, wow. So a lot of the, first part of your workshop is all about relationships. And you
Right.
mentioned your own family as well. You want to share a story?
I've got a couple stories I would love to share. One is the addiction redirection activation, which is not on this list. I have two adopted sons. My oldest son became a heroin addict and was a heroin addict for about 5 years. And he would always let me work on him, but nothing I did changed him. And when I came home from Europe in December, I was in a car with him and this other girl, and they were both on heroin. And I asked them, I said, can I do these activations on you guys? And they said, okay. Seriously, I'm driving down the freeway. It took me about 5 minutes working on them. I dropped him off, didn't see him again for a while. Kyle ended up going into jail again, which was normal for him. It was a revolving door, violation of probation. So I let him sit in jail for a couple weeks before I went and saw him. And when I went and saw him, he says, Mom, something's changed. He says, get me out of here. So in March, when he got out, I took him up to Oregon. And he's with me now in Colorado, and he's clean. He's clean, and I had to do some other activations to help heal his anger and stuff. But really what even amazed me more was in June, we went back to California for my father's funeral, and this girl that was in the car with us that day came walking up to me. I mean, this is Holy Spirit, obviously, hooking us up in this parking lot. And she walks up to me, she's all, Tamra, she says, I've had a spiritual awakening. I've been off heroin for 4 months, and I'm talking to my grandmother that's passed. So it took about 2 months for the energy to get her where she was able to be clean. But that's what the activations, they keep working. They keep changing you.
Wonderful. Will we get a chance to do an activation?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, so before we go there, I had a question. Let me try to bring it back. It's really, these activations are then allowing us then to connect more with our guides.
Yes.
And we'll be able to hear them more.
Yes, absolutely.
Clearing our energy field.
Yes.
So simple these days.
Yes.
Would you attribute this to the galactic alignment that we're going through?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. With the
Energies.
5th dimensional grid system now in place around the Earth, it makes it much, much easier for us to connect to our guides. But if we have a lot of belief systems that are keeping in the way, it's important to clear these out. And these activations do this. The activation I'll be doing this morning is called the Lord Metatron, and it will activate your 12 strands of DNA. So it will allow you to travel the 12 dimensions.
Okay.
So it's really amazing.
When we get ready to do this activation, can you share, going back to the grid that you saw around the planet, can you describe it?
You know, it's like woven. It's, you know, crisscrosses all around the world of light, and it's just light. But what I saw, it was like this gorgeous pink, kind of like that lampshade pink. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And when I was looking at it, it was so beautiful. And when I saw the dark spots, that's when I went, okay, where is that? And what is that? And then they explained it to me. And what it is that really that fear and that suffering energy. And so with the activations, we clear that out.
The activations then that we do from your activations within ourselves, we can consciously direct that to those areas?
Absolutely. Yeah, when I'm doing a group activation and we're pulling like out of the culture wounds and stuff, pulls you out of the group consciousness of suffering, and that survival is a struggle. And I just see as many people that are ready as to be pulled out of that. And I kind of like see it like hooks and cords and stuff that are connected to it. And you see it being unplugged, and then we plug it into the 5th dimensional grid system of that unconditional love and peace and abundance.
Okay, thank you, Tamra. This is the Lord Metatron activation.
And this is going to activate your 12 strands of DNA. And any belief systems that are coming up for you, just allow them to come up, because we are just creating them for you, okay? So I'm going to get started now. Just imagine that you're this beautiful tree and you have this really, really deep root system. Just bring that energy down into Mother Earth. Imagine that your roots go down 5 miles down and 5 miles out. Just keep connecting to Mother Earth and feel this unconditional love of a mother, of your mother. Now just allow this energy to travel up through the root system, through every single cell of your body. Bring this energy up to the top of your head and open your eyes when you're ready. That's the Lord Metatron activation. That's the first one.
Amazing. There's not much more to talk about except how we can get more of these activations. On your website,
Yes.
sacredactivations.com.
Yes. Most of them are available for download, and there's different series that are available. I do like these 4-week classes around relationships and love and money. So you can buy series, which has a lot of activations in it, or you can buy the single activations. And I also, there's a 24 pack of a Power Weekend I did that you can download. It's much more inexpensive to buy it that way. And I also do live webinars constantly, and I'm now training other people how to do this work.
Okay, so healers out there that want to connect.
Yeah.
All right. So when you were connecting and doing the activation, were you drawing down the energy?
No, I just witnessed the energy.
You just witnessed the energy.
Yeah. Spirit does all the work. I just watch.
Okay. Fascinating. Good. All right. Let's see. Healing stories. Spontaneous healing. Cancer suddenly disappearing.
Yes.
Have you been able to contemplate what's going on?
Well, they're healing their energy and their belief systems through the activations around the cancer, so the cancers just disappear because there's no reason for them anymore. They show up to show you there's a belief problem, is what they do.
Boy, these beliefs.
Yeah, I had this one lady that they were going to do surgery on her breast, and they went in to did another test, and it was gone. It was a couple days after her activations. And then the same thing with this lady with ovarian cancer, or they were really, really watching her, and they were checking her all the time, and she went in for a check and it was gone. And then I had this other client that had suffered a stroke, and she had a hard time. She was on a walker. She's having a hard time with her left arm and her left leg. And it was when I had the first 3 activations. And then I did a session with her after that, and I saw this past life where she was a Jewish doctor in the Holocaust having to do surgeries on all these people without medication or painkillers or anything else. And she ended up dying. They ended up killing her because she started refusing to do it. But in this life, she's Jewish, and she's always in suffering. So after these activations, because I had worked on her for a year with this stroke, and we didn't make any changes, but after the activations, it brought up this past life so that I could then see it, and we went in and cleared out all the trauma, and she woke up the next morning about 95% better. She could brush her hair, she could put on her bra, she can walk without the walker. She's not totally perfect yet, but she can live life again.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
And to think it's past lives and belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it moves out so many belief systems, at this point we don't even need to own up and recognize what those belief systems were. We just notice, like you were saying,
Right.
You're not angry anymore.
Right.
Things don't bother you the same way.
Right. Yeah, this clears you out of the collective consciousness of belief systems, because there's a lot of belief systems that we could be locked into and not even know it, like the collective consciousness of suffering, fear, life is a struggle. When I cleared out of that, I was amazed how much I changed. And the heaven on earth activation releases you from the collective consciousness of the karma of the human race. So my heart chakra hurt constantly in my back, and I was always had this sad look on my face because I was carrying all that karma for all the murders. And when I was released from that, I saw chains and stuff come off of me.
Wow.
And my heart chakra stopped hurting for the first time in years. I mean, it was a constant pain, constant pain, completely gone.
Wow.
So it also releases you out of the religious belief systems, because there's these group consciousnesses in a lot of different things, kind of like a video game that you can plug into different things and play, and we're plugged into a lot of these and we don't even know it. So
in so many ways.
Yeah, so it clears the genetic, it clears the past life, it clears the collective consciousness. I mean, it clears it on all these levels without having to go look at it. There's very few times I've had to go look at something with a client after I've done the activations.
Really?
So I've had clients give me this list, and then I do the activations and I say, write it down, everything that comes up this week. And then when we talk next week, we'll work on it. I had this one client from Ireland. She wrote, I did some activation. I think the first 3 activations I did on her, I talked to her a week later for our next session, and she read off this list. I'm all, oh my God, we're going to be busy today, you know. And she goes, and it's all gone. I don't believe any of it anymore. I was like, wow, that is so cool.
Well, how liberating this could be for people. You know, I know so many healers out there that are really stepping it up, and this is almost getting into quantum medicine. So healers that can learn this,
Yes.
they can do this in their own work, and it's going to change.
It's going to change their work. Their work will change so much. I teach healers and doctors, and their work goes like this. Instead of these hour sessions, couple hour sessions, they're done in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and they've done so much more with their clients. It's truly amazing. I mean, I'm so amazed with this energy work, and I'm just so thankful to bring it to the planet to really assist healers and everybody else to really do their work.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I have this doctor. He's from India, but he's in Iraq, and I did this class on disconnect from the war consciousness. And he asked me, he says, should I go over there? I said, absolutely, go. And he went over there as the Ministry of Medicine, and he says there's bomb blasts going off. He says, I'm not in fear at all. So I sent him those files. I said, please share those with everybody you can. You know, let's disconnect that fear.
Disconnect the fear. And I like what you said about hooks, because there are groups around there releasing hooks.
Right.
And you've just explained that. It's that consciousness, collective consciousness, that hooks in.
Right.
And it's all being changed.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do genetic work and past life work, but when the collective consciousness work came in and Creator really showed me this, I was really amazed and really blown away how much better the healing is when you put in that collective consciousness aspect of it, because you can work on something for years and you're not going to clear it unless you clear it out of the collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It'll still be running in the back of your mind, maybe not as much, maybe not as present, but it's still there. But when you release from that, like we're releasing people from diseases and beliefs of diseases through the collective consciousness, because there's a collective consciousness of that. But 1 in 3 women get cancer, so you think, oh, well, I'm going to have cancer. I'm 1 in 3. No, let's disconnect you from that so you no longer believe that, so therefore it no longer happens.
Some of the other belief systems then, how liberating. We were talking about the healers out there, and some healers may need to get over something with abundance.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of that is like the collective church, because a lot of healers that are on the planet have been priests and monks and everything else, so they don't believe they're allowed to have money. And when you work for God, you're not allowed to have money. I had that. I was stuck, and I had a really hard time supporting myself being a healer, so I'd gone in and out of the workforce supporting my family, because I've been a single mom for forever. And but disconnecting from that, then my client base picked up so I could support my family and not be starving all the time. So we pull you out of all of that so that you can really make a living. And again, it's like the culture wounds is also about suffering to survive. So we release that. And also a big one is spiritual ego. There's so many healers that are in their ego where they think they're so cool, or there's these other ones that don't think they're good enough. So the release from the spiritual ego clears up all of that, so you know you're working for spirit and you're just a vessel and a witness, because we're not really healers, we're just witnesses, you know. So
Witnesses and observers.
yeah, so it's good to get out of that ego so it's not crushed if someone dies, or you're not thinking you're the coolest thing in the world if someone else, you know, because it helps us do our work better.
Well, thank you so much for standing in your truth and
Thank you.
stepping forward and clearing so much past karma and changing the world.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here doing this. Thank
Tamra
you.
Oviatt at sacredactivations.com.
Thank you.
And stay tuned, we're going to do some online healing retreats.
Yay! Yay!